Hey everyone, before I get started, I just want to remind you that if you like my content, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and then join the Militiaman and Crew Patreon community by clicking the link in the caption. Hey everybody, Militiaman here. It's Monday, got an update for you. I'd like to talk to you guys about a few things, and everybody I think should really know this by now, is that the Ministry of Justice announced that the publication of the general budget is in the Iraqi fact sheet. It's been done, so they've got that sorted. It says the publication of the federal budget law in the Iraqi fact sheet, which is number 4726. The law basically is that it's for the fiscal years of 2023, 2024, 2025. So they basically put that into the Gazette, okay? So it's definitely taken care of on that end. And so what is the next thing? It says the next thing is going to be that the Iraq government will come out and will send to the parliament after Eid the instructions on the budget. So why is that important? Because the instructions are going to be telling. So they have calculated, they've orchestrated a circumstance to where that they put it in the Gazette, and yet they don't execute the instructions to implement the monies and the distribution for the future projects. So for all these projects that we've been talking about, the 4 million housing units, if that's what they're going to spend it on, the deals, the memorandums of understanding around the world, places like Egypt, Qatar, we're going to talk about some of that stuff, okay? Because that's a reality. It's no joke. And those instructions are supposedly after the Eid holiday. And that can be, they said that al-Sudani put a special day for tomorrow, which runs all the way out, I believe, till the 1st or almost to the 2nd, but I think it's through the 1st. And I believe that is Saturday. So we'll see how that works. Sunday, if everybody realizes how international markets work, a retail side of the Forex opens on Sunday at about 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So we're going to have to see if that holds true. If there's something different that we've missed, that's what we're going to watch and see. But it says the Council of Ministers basically have some important points through the government program. The House of Representatives have said over that holiday, the final evaluation of the report during the past 6 months is good. So everything that they've done over the last 6 months up until now has been good. So in other words, it's been better than expected. And then so they tell you that during the next 6 months, they'll have an annual report and it will be issued, which includes much broader details in what they've done, okay? So that's part of this whole process, and that's over the next 6 months. It's basically all going to be about tangible things for the citizens based off the decisions made by the government. All of these decisions that they've made, basically what they're suggesting is that they are in favor of the citizens. Let's see. All that was mentioned in the report was achievements. They said that the budget wasn't a large budget, so that was something they could do quickly, easily. And it says through the regular exchange, available funds, the remaining funds for producing the income for these projects was from the emergency support law and the financial management disbursement law 1 to 12. They basically explain that the budget will provide large space and funds to implement projects. So the main part about that, forgive me, was the budget will provide a legal space and funds to implement projects. So if you think about it there for a minute, at 1310, you're not going to be able to buy any widgets for much, okay? If they change the exchange rate, which they must do in our view, those widgets become a lot cheaper. All the materials we talked about, we've been over it a few times. That's the stuff that they're talking about here. The government basically has a clear approach, which includes strategic paths and foreign policy. Well, foreign policy, we talked about that. We talked about Qatar, we talked about Egypt, Saudi Arabia, the United States, France, Europe, everybody. everybody's going to be coming into this country for what? To rebuild, reconstruct, and to make money. So it's fascinating. It basically comes and says that their approach in this foreign policy has some key points. I think there's 4 of them. Moderation in the balance of how the government deals with political blocs of various components. Close coordination with the coordinating framework forces and the state administration, so that's internal. Effective coordination with Parliament, again, that's internal. Direct dealing with citizens and informing citizens of their next steps. So basically what they've told you there is that we've got a plan, it's in process, the instructions will be immediately after the Eid holiday, depending on what day that turns out to be, whether that's the 30th or the 1st. We're just going to wait and see how it turns out. But basically, they're saying they've got it covered, and we'll move on to the next thing. And this is what it says: Iraq is moving towards achieving economic and development goals. Well, their development goals are basically the reconstruction aspect of it. We've talked about the Dry Canal, we've talked about the Development Road, we talked about the Silk Road, we're talking about a lot of those things. It says there's a specialist of the economic affairs that praised the economic moves undertaken by the government, especially in the at the international level, and they're stressing the importance of foreign and domestic visits of the Prime Minister Shia al-Sudani during the current month of June. So here we are, we're reiterating that, which they resulted in signing of dozens of agreements with Egypt and Qatar. So they have been ultimately moving quite fast, and many things have been happening, and they're discussing it frequently. The June month witnessed economic movements that were welcomed by many economists around the world. Basically, they're calling it a development transition. So that to me means that their development transition means that they're going to build this place out. They're going to build those 4 million housing units or 3 million housing units. They're going to allow the total and Aramco deal, memorandums of understanding. This particular article talks about the Shia al-Sudani with the Arab Republic of Egypt. They did 11 agreements. Okay, they basically just knocked it silly. The Emir of the State of Qatar, they did many agreements. They were agreements in the fields of the maritime air transport, a memorandum of understanding and cooperation with the establishment of a joint oil company, and to build a refinery. These things cost a lot of money to do that. You can't just go and spend 1310 to do the type of things that they're talking about. They're gonna make an adjustment, and that's what we're waiting for. The World Trade Organization, for instance, they're not going to come into Iraq until they have an internationally acceptable Article 8 compliant currency. So we're going to see that. But what are they telling you also? This celebration in June, this is a big month for them on the occasion of the 63rd anniversary of the convening founding of the Conference of the OPEC. Iraq's part of that. That's huge, right? International economic visits that were taken, according to The Economist, they said that there was a number of the private sector development council at the Ministry of Planning, Dr. Ali Hadi Jura. Basically, what it says, great importance in drawing positive pictures of the steps that Iraq seeks to achieve in various aspects of development. Well, again, the development part of this is all about rebuilding the country, the plans that they have in place. They're getting ready to do that. They're saying that the visits can contribute to their real exploitation to transform the country into a regional and international economic power. I'll read it again. This whole thing is about their real exploitation to transform the country into a regional and international economic power. All right, so we got that set. You let it sink in. It's awesome. Basically, they're coming back and saying Strategic Development Road Project. We all know that that's huge. That's interconnecting Iraq and Silk Road Initiative into Europe. It's underway. It's bringing various initiatives and pumping hot money. They use the word hot money from abroad that works to open horizons for development, economic diversification in revenue, and stimulate stimulating production. So that's talking about industry, that's talking about diversification of revenues. What do we know about the diversification in revenues? They're going to get diversification through taxes and tariffs at the borders. They're going to have fees, customs, the liquid natural gas, all their minerals. They're going to have all those revenue streams coming in, okay? And that's all going to be digital. It's all going to be electronic. It's all going to be transparent. It's going to be everything that an investor likes. That's why we're here. We're not here just for fun and giggles. This is all about reality. This is going to be rebuilding a country from the ground up. A war-torn country, in the amount of money that's going to be spent. Think about it for a minute. Iraq's been down at since 2003. The whole idea of this is not going to be a phenomenal circumstance for all involved. I think it's ludicrous. And by the way, when Militiaman and Crew, we do our study, we do it through Militiaman and Crew. We're not getting our information from other dinar guru sources. We respect a lot of those people out there. There's many of them out there that we know of and we don't disagree with. But the fact remains is that Militiaman and Crew, we have our own data sources and we have our own people that give us our information, okay? So it's not from outside sources other than what you've already been explained in our YouTube. We have names, credits for those folks. So we'll leave that alone for the moment. I think lastly, what we're going to talk about is that the CBI has instructions for Iraq. Those instructions were just a brief update. These particular instructions were for the banking sector to be careful that if names change for people in the banking control department, accounting department, Department of Foreign Investments, transfers, the version of the circuit in the cabinets, those folks, if they change up their personnel, the Central Bank of Iraq wants to know about that. And then we have the a dinar support committee. Make new changes are about what they're doing. Basically, Iraq is wanting everybody to support the Iraqi dinar and to coordinate that whole process. So what they want is the traders to agree on developing mechanisms to reduce problems of the exchange fluctuation and the supremacy of the parallel exchange rate in the markets and control of dollar transactions. So they've had problems with the parallel market, which is an illegal market. It's the black market, and they want that to cease to exist. They want to be able to be on the dollar only for foreign exchange. Internal, external, for normal merchants, traders, they want it to be in the dinar. It says the committee aims to support the dinar and make it the basis for buying and selling in transactions within the country and adopting the foreign currency, which is the dollar, for foreign transactions only. Basically, if this process, if it's successful, it will achieve a price stability, and that's what their goal is, to get price stability. And I believe that they're going to do that. I think that in my view, is that changing the exchange rate to an Article 8 compliant currency accepted by the international world is going to make all the difference in the world, the parallel market. It will go away. That's my belief, anyway. It says, we have many measures that we've put in place to support the dinar as the central bank took it upon itself to solve the problem of bank transfers and adopt a platform, which is the electronic platform. In this regard, despite the traders' repeated complaints, because the traders, they were making money doing what they were doing. But basically, in the end, they say, but it's a good step to speed up the issue of remittances. In parallel, we're simplifying banking procedures with the Baghdad Chamber of Commerce. So what they're saying is that it's kind of a brief translation, is probably not that perfect, but the point is that it's a good step to speed up the issue of the remittances, and that's what this new electronic platform does. Speeds it up, has transparency. You know your customer. They're knocking it out of the park with all these different things that they're doing. So Chamber of Commerce, I had some people out there in Patreon, YouTube, asking, well, how do we get involved with these 500,000 units in the first phase, or up to this 4 million units? I would suggest getting a hold of the Chamber of Commerces in your respective countries to be able to get involved in that. obviously they're going to be open to talk. If you've got real estate experience, construction experience, all those things, place to go is going to be the Chamber of Commerce, United States, and or Iraq. And I'm pretty sure you can even get a hold of the Iraq Chamber of Commerce. So those are some things to think about. Lastly, interestingly enough, not lastly, actually, there's another article that we probably should just touch bases, and I'll retract back, but it says the Sudanese advisor, so the advisor to al-Sudani, the prime minister, there is no fear for the budget of fluctuating oil prices. Well, this budget is a 3-year budget, and the budget is subject to. What I mean by subject to is that subject to changes. In other words, if valuations, oil prices fluctuate up and down, they've adjusted for that. So in other words, they can amend the budget through the Council of Ministers and the House of Representatives to adjust for fluctuating commodity prices. And so that's basically what I believe is the truth. It says the Prime Minister Saleh, the advisor to Prime Minister Mohammed Saleh, he is dispelled fears of the impact of oil price fluctuations on the budget after the presidency approves the budget and publishes it in the Gazette. Well, presidency approved it, published in the Gazette. It says it will enter into force as the budget's instructions, we talked about that already, the instructions will be issued jointly by the Minister of Finance and Planning and will process, and the whole process will not take more than a week. So that happened this morning. They have put it in the Gazette, and the process will not take more than a week to input these instructions. So that's powerful information. I mean, it really is. So it says that the approval will require additional expenditures during the second half of this year. So they have to make arrangements now to accommodate the future. The expenditures will increase from now on, and those expenses that will be covered from oil, those expenses will be covered from oil and non-oil revenues, taxes, tariffs at the borders, minerals, all those things. And any financial deficit can be remedied through internal and external borrowing. Well, that part right there is like, well, hold on a minute. How is that going to happen? If you have a B- credit rating and you're in debt and everybody wants you to adjust the value of your currency to reflect a real effective exchange rate, who's going to loan you money? Those are some of the questions that you should be asking yourselves. They're not. So all I can say now is that what we're seeing here is a push to go to a private sector, market economy, geared to be ready to go to the World Trade Organization, whether we like it or not. They're going to get a slice of this pie, and that's just the way it's going to work. And we're going to see evidence of that. Iraq has paid their dues back to 2018. If you're going to pay dues to 2018, well, why would you do that if you're not going to have a session to the World Trade Organization? There's no need to spend the money. Why waste it if you're not going to do it? So here, interestingly enough, the timing is right. This is speculation to some degree on my part, but not really, because this is a public data coming from Jakarta, the Bank of Indonesia. But I also want to reiterate, there's fresh news out that's talking about Vietnam and China doing memorandums of understanding today that I didn't bring into this. But keep in mind, emerging markets, infrastructure build-outs are going to happen. And we all know that Vietnam is one of those countries that has about 20 to 30% all-weather roads. That's going to change. They got a lot of rain. They're going to build those countries with some roads. They're going to have new trucking. They're going to have, just like Iraq, they're going to have new trucking, new infrastructure build out, all of those things. So it makes sense for a country like Vietnam to do that. I haven't studied Indonesia, but interestingly enough today, they're talking about, Indonesia stated that the rupiah redenomination is about to be a main focus for them. It says that their governor, Perry Warhiho, claimed that the Bank of Indonesia is ready to carry out the plan, basically a redenomination. listen, if you Google redenomination, it's going to have some negative connotations. That's okay. But keep in mind, some of the key words is in typical circumstances. In this particular case, a redenomination, just like Iraq, redenomination, they're going to revalue, but they still have to redenominate. So when you increase the value based off fundamentals, you're going to see that this could be a different circumstance. It says it must be executed during good macroeconomic conditions and stable monetary and financial system. Well, our Fed now in the United States of America is going to supposedly be online July 1st. That's this coming weekend. Okay. My understanding of it is that the Fed now for banking got started on June. So they've already started testing it. This is talking about a stable monetary financial system. This whole new system is supposed to be stable. It's supposed to be fast, effectively furious. It's supposed to be transparent. The blockchain system is to be fast, accurate, okay? Accountability, all of that stuff. Anti-money laundering. Everything that they've been telling us about for years is supposed to happen. So here it says the public it is thus expected to be patient, waiting for the right moment. This whole plan for the Ministry of Finance released a bill on the rupiah redenomination as the focus is of 2020 to 2024. Their focus is on that. So they've been paying attention to other different countries because all boats rise with the tide, as we've put. And at this stage of the game, it looks like Indonesia and the comments from Vietnam, some of those things are something to think about. Again, I'm not saying that they're part of this process with Iraq, but the bottom line is that the timing of this stuff sometimes is no coincidence. So thank you everybody for being here tonight. I really appreciate it. Hopefully this was helpful. If you like, subscribe, hit that donate button. I appreciate it because it helps keep this place going, helps take care of the crew members. Appreciate it very much. Once again, guys, don't forget to hit that like button if you like this content, subscribe to the channel, or join us at the Militia Man and Crew Patreon community for even more exclusive content. You can also donate to this channel by hitting the links in the banner to help keep this page up and running. Your generous support is greatly appreciated, as always. Much, much appreciated. Thank you so much and have a great day.